Welcome back as we continue our study or our read through, really, the Gospel of Luke. We're reminding ourselves of what it means to be a Christ follower. So we're looking at what he did in order to be an example for us, living in this crazy world where there's so much division and opinion. We're just looking to see how are we supposed to act. Well, as Christians, as Christ followers, we're just seeing what he did. And we're going to do that today. We're going to continue just kind of reading through and seeing how he interacts with people. And that's why I'm going to be starting later at the end of chapter 4 today, because in the beginning of chapter 4, it's the story of where Jesus goes to a synagogue in Nazareth and he reads. And that's a really, really important event in the life of Jesus, but it's not really looking at his relationship with other people. So I'm going to not include that in the reading today, but move on just after that. But if you're interested in that Luke chapter 4, like verses 14 and on, and it's remarkable. It's the story of how he goes to the synagogue. And if you want to understand why did he leave Capernaum and make this very long walk all the way to Nazareth? And why did he go on that particular Sabbath? And when he stood up, why did he give him Isaiah 61? And why did all that kind of stuff? I've taught about it in the past. I'm not going to take the time to do that today. But if that's of interest to you, then you can find it in two places, either in my first book, Understanding Jesus, or in a digital download video that I did called Hebraic Roots. And so I'm just going to put links to them in the description below. And if you want to follow up with them, go. I think you'll really enjoy it, but that's not really part of the reading cycle that I'm focusing on today, as we're looking more about his interactions with people. So we're going to pick it up here at Luke chapter 4, verses 31. And I'm just going to read it to verse 37, and then I'll just speak a little bit about what's going on. It says that he went down to Capernaum, a town in Galilee, and on the Sabbath he taught the people. And they were amazed at his teaching, because his words had authority. In the synagogue there was a man possessed by a demon, an impure spirit. He cried out at the top of his voice, "Go away! What do you want with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are. You are the Holy One of God." He says, "Be quiet," Jesus said sternly. "Come out of him." Then the demon threw the man down before them all, and he came out without injuring him. And all the people were amazed, and they said to each other, "What words are these? With authority and power, he gives order to impure spirits, and they come out." And so the news about him spread throughout that surrounding area. There's a lot of things going on here. And at the beginning, we're told that he goes to Capernaum. And at the end of the story, we're told that the news in that area just spread out throughout the whole surrounding area. So I'm going to talk about Capernaum a little bit, because I think it's important to understanding what's going on in the story, and even with his interactions with the people. Now, Capernaum, like a lot of typical Hebrew words, is made up of two words, kafar and nahum. And nahum is to comfort, and kafar just means a village. So this is the village of the Comforter. And so I always found that very fascinating. Every time I go to Capernaum and you walk in, and there's a sign over the gate into the city, where it's basically saying, this is Jesus' house. This is where he did his ministry, the village of the Comforter, and this is where he brings comfort by teaching and preaching and by healing and by doing incredible miracles. So that's the name of Capernaum. But the position of where it is in the country it's also very, very important to the story. Capernaum is on kind of the northwestern side of the Sea of Galilee. And it's very strategic because it's right where two kingdoms join. To the west of it, it's under Roman occupation, and there's a procurator over there, and you have to pay taxes and use certain currencies under the Roman Empire. And to the east of it, that's where it's under Greek authority. And so that's a whole different set of living. It's a whole different set of laws and governments. We know about the Decapolis, the 10 big Greek cities. They're on the east side. So every time you're crossing from this side to this side, and you have to literally pass through Capernaum. It's like the border town, and you have to pay taxes coming in, and you have to pay taxes if you're going that way. You have to get your money changed because you have to use Roman currency over here, Greek currency over there. So it's a great place to be located because everybody has to pass through your town in order to go on to the empire next door. And it's no wonder we find Matthew, what, the tax collector, he's there. He most likely does currency exchange as well for the people. And so that makes sense as to why he's there. But Capernaum is also strategic because it's on what's called the Via Damaris. That's an ancient trade route that would come from the south and North Africa and go all the way up to Syria and then east on from there. So anybody who had a business who was serious about trading internationally, this is the route they would take, and they all had to pass right through Capernaum. So imagine you come through Capernaum and you start to hear stories. Have you heard? There's this man from Nazareth. He teaches like we've never heard before. He's casting out demons. He's doing this, he's doing that. And no wonder it says, and the news about him spread throughout the surrounding area. And so there's a lot of really kind of cool historical, even geographical background to understand why Jesus chooses Capernaum to be his head office in the Galilee. Because when people would come there, they would hear about the miracles and then they would go on their way and the story of Jesus would spread. And so this is just a short little teaching and a short little reading, and we see that everywhere Jesus goes, when he's asked to heal, when he's asked to pray, he always stops, he always takes the time, because he's come for people. He's for people. He understands there's politics, he understands there's things going on in the background, but those are in the peripheral, they're in the wings. But what matters to Jesus, what he focuses on, is people. And so we as Christ followers, let's do what he does. Yeah, there's all that stuff to the side, but let's focus on people and let's really, really work at becoming better and more diligent Christ followers.